What's up, guys? Welcome back to Zilla MMA. I am your host, as always, the Zilla. I want to start this episode by wishing you a Happy New Year. I know it's not really the new year anymore, but the first video of the new year, I think we've taken 12, 13 days off since our last video, and that being just with the off time of the UFC. Hasn't really been a need to do any other videos since then. We did the Zilla MMA award show, which we called our Christmas show. So this is going to be the New Year's show, and this is the 2024 UFC predictions. One of my big goals of 2024 is to really grow this channel. This is something I really enjoy doing, and the few people I've talked to that have watched it are enjoying the content we're putting out. So please like and subscribe. The subscribers really mean a lot to me. The viewers have been great. All the interactions I've had have been great. So thank you guys. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate you. You're the reason we do this. But without further ado, I'm going to do a little 2024 preview show. And that's just me going over my predictions of who will be holding the title in each of the men's divisions at the end of 2024. Going through this, it really gives you an idea of what I think is going to happen with the titles in 2024 as well, who's going to contend for them, and things like that. I think it's pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting for me to go through. So we'll go ahead and get into this. Starting at 125 Flyweight, your current champ is Alex Pantoja. I think it's kind of unlikely that some of these top guys get another shot at the title this year, that being Moreno, Royval, Kai Kara France, just because they've had him so recently, have lost to Pantoja. I really don't see the UFC setting those fights up again this year. I think the most likely candidate is going to be Albazi. That would be my top guy, followed by either Kopp or Nicolau, and then a distant fourth between those guys would be Makayev. Albazi facing Moreno in February, so with a victory, I think he would be the next best option. But Kopp and Nicolau fight this weekend, so I'll obviously have a breakdown of that fight coming with the next card coming up this week, and that should give us some clarity in what's going to be going on in this weight class going forward. And then finally, Makayev, which is fighting Alex Perez in March. I think I've made it pretty abundantly clear how I feel about Makayev on this channel. I just have been very much unimpressed with what he's done to this point. And even if he does get the shot, I really don't give him much of a chance against Pantoja. But in all honesty, not sure any of these guys really have what it takes to take him down this year. I expect him to fight at least twice, and I would bet he wins both unless he has some kind of drastic drop-off that I'm not expecting. So kind of boring in this first one, but in the first one of the year, I'm going to have Pantoja to retain the title. Going up to 135, Bantamweight, current champ here is Sean O'Malley, and we already know he's going to be fighting Chito Vera in March. I actually do think Sean, I'm not the highest person on Sean O'Malley, but I do think he gets the better of that matchup. But I still just don't see O'Malley as this crazy dominant fighter that's going to hold the title forever. I think he could end up wearing the belt multiple times in his career. But I still do think, even with what happened with Aljamain Sterling, I still think there's some vulnerability in the wrestling game with him there right now. I think someone does take advantage of that at some point and takes the belt off him. Maybe he gets it back at a later point in his career. But there's a couple fighters that I think are deserving of a chance this year. Sandhagen and Merab are obviously the top two that come to mind as far as that goes. But with that being said, I think both the UFC and Sean are looking for that big money fight, the fight that everyone's been talking about, the fight that everyone wants to see at this weight class, and I think that is Henry Cejudo. Not really an easy fight to make. Cejudo is going to be fighting Merab in February, so he's got to win that fight to even have that fight be a possibility. But I might change my mind on this fight. But as of today, I'm going to go a little outside of the box. I think Cejudo is going to beat Merab, and then I think he's going to go on to beat Sean O'Malley late in 2024. And I actually do have Henry Cejudo wearing the belt going into 2025. I know that's not the most popular opinion in the world. I know not many people are seeing it that way as of right now. But in my opinion, I think there's a clear path for him to get there. I think both the UFC and Sean O'Malley want that fight. And I still, even from what we've seen as of late, I give Henry Cejudo a shot against anybody. So give me Henry Cejudo at 135. Moving into featherweight, that's 145. Current champ is Alex Volkanovski. For me, I think this one just comes down to two guys. It's either going to be Volk or Topuria. Been very high on Topuria. Can't take anything away from what he's done to this point, but he's just not faced anyone even close to the caliber of Volkanovski up to this point in his career. I think there are some people that are sleeping on Volk right now. You know, he definitely has had some trouble in his last couple fights. You know, the fights against Islam are fresh in people's minds. But I just don't think people are accounting for everything that was working against him in those fights. People also forget the Yair Rodriguez fight. You know, obviously that went his way. But I definitely think people are forgetting how the cards were stacked against Volk in his fights against Islam. This is his division. This is his weight class. He's going to have a full camp. I've just learned not to bet against Volk when that's the case. He's just been too dominant up to this point. I'm going to take him to retain his title throughout this year. I think he wins this fight, maybe goes on and has one more title fight this year. I really want to see him take a step back in 2024, though. I think he's really been pushing himself too hard. He's setting up all these fights. We saw the emotional breakdown he had after the last Makhachev fight. So I know he's been putting himself through a lot. I really want to see him in years to come. I don't want his career to be cut short because of the toll that he's putting on his body. So I hope he takes a bit of a step back this year, but retains the title throughout 2024. Moving on to lightweight, your current champ, Islam Makhachev. And we'll go ahead and say it. I think Makhachev maintains his dominance throughout 2024. I think the best shot to dethrone him is probably Sarukian, but I still don't even really love the odds of that happening. Just all the usual suspects at the top, like Poirier, Gaethje, Oliveira. They're just tying up the top of this division. So we may not even get the chance to see Sarukian fight for it this year, just because of those guys who are technically in his way, who have been sitting there in the top 5 for so many years now. It's just a division with some of the most entertaining fighters, and on paper it should just be so much fun to watch, but it feels like we've been in this stalemate now for years, and for those reasons, I don't really see Islam losing the belt. He fights maybe once, maybe twice this year. Really don't know who the opponents are going to be. We have to wait to see how all of this works out, but unfortunately, a weight class that should be a ton of fun, I think is going to remain a bit stagnant, and I think Islam maintains the title throughout 2024. Moving up to 170, welterweight, current champ Leon Edwards. So we know what the first fight's going to be this year. I think probably going to end up being 2 title fights just with the way that all this is going to work out. Leon's first fight's going to be against Bilal Muhammad. It's going to be at UFC 300 in April. Not really the fight that I think anyone really wanted to see. Bilal, obviously kind of a boring fighter in the eyes of most people, but I guess you have to say he's earned it at this point. I mean, with the fighters he's beaten, though, I think we all know that Gilbert fight's a little bit tainted, so, whatever you want to say about that. But regardless, I kind of expect Leon to win that fight. So that would probably line him up for one more fight towards the end of 2024, hopefully. We know Leon's he has not been scheduling a ton of fights, so 2 in the year would be, about on pace from what we would expect from Leon. And you would have to think the next person up would be Shavkat now. Rumors are swirling. Shavkat may not wait. He may fight Kamaru Usman for a top contender spot. We've even seen rumors that may also be on UFC 300. So that would obviously be interesting. But it seems to me like the entire world kind of has it a a sure thing that Shavkat would beat Leon Edwards. I just really don't see it that way. I'm kind of high on Leon right now. I think he could win that fight. Um, if Shavkat decides to fight Kamaru, a little more interesting to me, to be honest. I think Usman gives a very interesting fight to Leon. Um, every time really that they fought has been interesting to me. People are quick to forget how dominant Kamaru was in that first title fight where Leon landed the late head kick. So I don't think Kamaru being that top tier fighter is as distant in the past as some people think it is. Um, but with all that being said, there's a lot of variables here, and this weight class could definitely go sideways. Some things that could happen that I'm not expecting could definitely occur. This is one of those weight classes where it's a little difficult to predict for sure. But I'm going to go with Leon Edwards to maintain his title throughout 2024. Then we're going to move up to middleweight, 185. Current champion is Sean Strickland here. A weight class where I see four major contenders, really. The first, obviously, being the current champion, Sean Strickland. And I don't want to be too hard on him. Obviously, he's had his mental health struggles, but it's just been such in the public eye lately. Obviously, has had very public issues with Duplessis and everything he's been saying up to this point. But I just feel like he's really vulnerable right now. I have a lot of trouble trusting him to maintain this title. He was definitely able to take advantage of an Israel Adesanya who was clearly not himself. And good for him to go get the belt, to be honest. I mean, don't take anything away from him for that, but just facing an entirely different animal in Dricus Du Plessis in a few weeks. And I just don't really feel like he's ready for it. I mean, we all know how high I am on Dricus Du Plessis. He was the Zilla MMA 2023 Hero of the Year, and I fully expect him to take the belt off Sean Strickland in Toronto on January 20th. There's no doubt in my mind that belt is going to leave Toronto on Du Plessis. But from there, the question has to be, where are we going? Because Chimaev would be the obvious next one up. But if you've been seeing in the news lately, there's some obvious health issues there. I really don't even know what's going on with him, to be honest. And so you have to start having a little bit of fear that he may not even be available in 2024. And so if that's not the fight, I guess there's an outside chance my fourth guy would be Adesanya. He could return. I don't know if he jumps right back in for another title shot, but you never know with the UFC, what the pedigree that guy has. If there's no one else clear cut right there, maybe they jump him up to that spot. But with all these variables and a guy being a constant that I really trust in, I'm going to have Du Plessis wearing the belt at the end of 2024. Hopefully winning the belt, and I think maybe even a retention in late 2024, but we'll have to see. This is another weight class where things are a little funky right now. Hopefully they get a little more clear as the months go on. Next is going to be 205 with Alex Pereira as the current champ. Another kind of weird weight class. This one being because I just don't think there's anyone clear-cut that's deserving of a title shot right now. And I honestly think there's a good chance this title may end up being vacated at some point this year. I'm fully on the Pereira to heavyweight bandwagon train that's going on right now. I'm fully on the hype train. And in that case, this weight class really gets wide open. So obviously the first choice here would be Jamal Hill. He's going to return, but there's just a possibility that we don't see him until at least mid-2024 from what I'm seeing. Just he's not fully recovered from that injury yet. So the UFC may be forced to look at some other options before we get to Jamal Hill. Prohaska, obviously, still right there, top contender. He's got a fight at UFC 300 in April, so he wins that. He could be right up in the mix again. But a fight I really think you need to focus on for this weight class is actually coming up this weekend. I'll be breaking it down. I'll have analysis for that. But this is going to give away which way I'm leaning as of now. Obviously, it could still change while I watch film throughout the week. But that's going to be Ankalaev versus Walker. I think especially Ankalaev, if he can find his way through Johnny Walker this weekend, he's just in the driver's seat to get another shot at this belt. I honestly think the biggest obstacle for him is probably Dana White in the UFC, just based on how much they hated on his fight when he had that draw for the title that I really think was a win for Ankalaev. I think he should have gotten the belt there. So they may be unwilling to give him another title shot. But with this not being a very active division where they're going to be kind of searching for guys to fight for the title here, I think Ankalaev is going to be sitting right there as an obvious choice. I think if he gets Prohaska, he's got a good shot. I think he beats Jamal Hill. I even think the fight with Alex Pereira, if Alex Pereira decides to stay there, is interesting. So, with all that being said, I'm actually going to lean Magomed Ankalaev to be wearing the belt at the end of 2024 in the light heavyweight division. Another kind of outside chance there, but I really like what I've seen from him as of late. And finally, we get to heavyweight, which is just an absolute mess, as everyone knows. We start with who the current champion is in Jon Jones, who's obviously, we're just waiting for him to fight Stipe. And the whole situation with that's kind of crazy. It's just become kind of like, it's clearly just a legacy fight at this point. They want Jon Jones versus Stipe. And that became crystal clear to us when Jon Jones pulled out and they elected not to even offer the replacement fighter to Stipe. They created an entirely new interim title fight, which shows that they are not interested in getting the belt on Stipe. They are purely interested in Jon Jones versus Stipe. And why? Because Stipe is currently considered the best heavyweight of all time. Jon Jones currently considered the best fighter of all time. I believe Dana White and the UFC want Jon Jones to have that best heavyweight of all time title, and to do that, he needs to beat Stipe. So I don't think that fight really has anything to do at all with the heavyweight title. It's really more about the legacy of these two fighters. And so at this point, I fully expect both Jon Jones and Stipe to retire after that fight. You know, they've both gone on talking about uniting the title after that fight and everything that's going to occur. Aspinall getting very impatient, waiting for them to have that fight. But in my opinion, I don't think it's going to matter. I think they're both going to retire regardless of what they're saying. And at that point, it would put the belt firmly in Aspinall's hands. As I think it, in my opinion, and in a lot of the public's opinion, I kind of feel like it's there now. I kind of think the Jon Jones Stipe thing is kind of a sideshow at this point. I could be wrong. I think Stipe is definitely done after that fight. I could see a world where Jon Jones comes back and fights Aspinall to unite the title. But I think it'd be in the best interest of both of them to retire at that point. With Aspinall having the title, after this is all said and done, there's probably enough time for one more fight in 2024. And for me, if he's serious about making the move up and becoming the first ever three-division champ, I think you have to give Alex Pereira the opportunity here. And you know what? I think if he gets the opportunity, I really, really, really believe he can do it. I've looked at the tape. I've really developed an idea in my head of how he can do it. I really hope this fight really happens so I can break down the analysis. It's something I'm really excited about. I can't wait to share it. But I think I'd side with Alex Pereira in this fight. And as crazy as it sounds, this is obviously my most outlandish one throughout this entire thing. I'm going to have Alex Pereira having the heavyweight title at the end of 2024. I know it's a long shot. I understand why some people might think that's crazy and kind of outlandish, but it's the way I'm going to go with this one. So that's going to do it for this breakdown, guys. Kind of a fun video for me to make, just discussing all the things that we can look forward to going on in 2024. Good chance none of this ends up being right and that it's something completely different. And, you know, that's kind of what makes UFC fun. We're going to have some storylines that come up throughout the year that we weren't expecting, some fighters to show up that we'd never heard of before 2024 that are going to be title contenders by the end of the year. So that's always really exciting. Things going on with the channel. Obviously, this week we're going to have the breakdown for the Ankalaev Johnny Walker card. That'll be coming out in the next few days, some point this week. And then we're going to be getting back onto a normal schedule. You know, the UFC's taken about a month off, so we've taken a little bit of time off, but I'm ready to get back active, make some great videos for you guys. Hopefully, we're going to have a great year gambling in 2024. If you're on board with that, we've got some great picks coming your way, so look forward to doing that with you guys. But obviously, we want to keep growing the channel. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please just hit that subscribe button. It really helps grow the channel. Like this video. Leave some comments with what you're expecting in 2024. I love hearing from you guys. Please tell your friends. Let's get this channel growing. But I'll talk to you later this week, guys. So until then, see ya.